You're ready to go, Judge.
Thank you. Good morning. We'll go on the record here in Bingham County. It is the 22nd of December, 2021. Case number CR 621-6435. This is the date and time for an initial appearance. Present here on the Zoom meeting is Mr. Oleson, the attorney for the defendant in this matter, Mr. Rowland, and then I have Mr. Nye for the State Attorney General's office, representing the state in this matter. Mr. Oleson, before we take on the initial appearance, is there any motions that you'd like to make here on the record today?
Yes, Your Honor, we would move to continue this. This matter can be held in person based upon the Supreme Court's most recent order and also the media attention that this case has gathered. I think it is important that this matter be held in person and not live streamed according to the order. There must be specific findings that there is no reasonable in-person alternative available that would sufficiently ensure the health and safety of those participating. Bingham County is able to have in-person hearings and has in certain cases for some time now. There is a large courtroom which is available for anybody in the public to come in and have access to the courts. We don't want any jury pool to be potentially prejudiced because of the media attention this has gathered, which can increase because of live streaming. And so that is our motion today, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Oleson. Mr. Nye, the state's response.
Your Honor, the state's reading of the Idaho Supreme Court's order is that this court has discretion as to whether or not to hold this in person. Given the current pandemic, and while Bingham County's numbers may be at the current time low, I think it is appropriate, especially in a hearing where we're not presenting evidence. And so the state would like to proceed forward today with the hearing. If the court does decide to push the hearing back, we would ask that it be scheduled as soon as possible, as we have several conditions that we would like to place on the defendant, and including no contact orders with some of the victims who have requested them. So we would like that to happen as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Nye. Mr. Oleson, I'll give you the last word. This is your motion.
Well, Your Honor, if the AG's is trying to put conditions that we haven't seen anyway, then I would ask that they be required to file a motion and we have an opportunity to respond to that and not just be surprised at that at the hearing. So I think that's an additional reason why this matter should be continued if they're going to try to impose any type of conditions.
Thank you. All right, the court has listened carefully to the argument of both parties. The court recognizes that the defendant has been summoned here to court today and that this matter was set remotely via Zoom. The court recognizes that pursuant to the most recent Supreme Court order dated November 29th, 2021, the court does have discretion on whether to hold a hearing in person or whether to hold it remotely, taking into account the health and safety of the public, as well as taking into account the need to promote access to the courts and public's access to the court, including the media. The court also recognizes the arguments that Mr. Oleson is making with regards to jury pool and that information being too widespread. The court always wants to err on the side of a defendant's rights, and the court also recognizes that based upon the most recent district court order or the administrative district court order, the numbers in Bingham County are below the threshold, so it gives the court more discretion to hold these in person. With that being said, I am going to grant the request. However, I'm not going to bump this out very far. I will grant the request to hold the initial appearance in person in Blackfoot at the Bingham County Courthouse. I will bump this until the, looking at my calendar, it looks like I have available next Wednesday, the 29th of December, and we can schedule that at 10 a.m. to be held at the Bingham County Courthouse in Blackfoot. Does that work for both of your schedules, Mr. Oleson and Mr. Nye?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Pursuant to the the request of the state, while this case is pending, Mr. Oleson, I am going to grant the request for the no contact order. That matter can be taken up on the 29th of December. That's something that I believe is very important, and it's something that needs to be dealt with in a timely basis. And so I'm going to grant that request for the no contact order to be put in place. Again, that disallows the defendant from making contact with the victim or alleged victims. We'll communicate about the wording in that no contact order, but that will be in place. If that's something that you want to address at the 29th hearing that's in person in Blackfoot, we'll do that. Any questions about today's finding, today's ruling, or what's going to happen next week on the 29th, Mr. Nye?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Oleson.
Just, Your Honor, we have not seen any formal request for no contact and what the conditions were. If the court's just saying no contact and not issuing it any other terms other than just that, we can deal with that next week. But if the court's issuing some other distance requirements or something else that we're not aware of, that could be concerning based upon the community and the close community and the residences of the parties. So we're fine with the no contact itself for the week, but we wouldn't ask the court impose any other distance restrictions or anything else that could cause problems without our ability to know what the state's requesting.
I will not put any distance requirements right now, other than to say there is no contact in person, remotely, via social media, via telephone. And if your client does come into a place where the victim or the alleged victims are, he must completely remove himself from that location. We'll deal with any other particulars at the hearing next week on the 29th. Do you have any questions about that, Mr. Oleson?
No, Your Honor.
We'll be adjourned for today. We'll reconvene on the 29th at 10 a.m. at the Bingham County Courthouse. Thank you.